Greetings everybody. It's been a while since I've done any kind of collecting video, but with the holidays over I got some cool stuff to show you, some of which I got for Christmas, some of which from eBay, and then a really awesome find I got from a thrift store. So I'll share all of that. I got a couple different games for Christmas, but this one specifically is probably my favorite. And what this is it's obviously a Nintendo cartridge, but it's the Versus Super Mario Brothers arcade game. And in case you're not familiar with it, Super Mario Brothers was released in the arcade back in the day, 85, 86, somewhere around there. And it was a slightly different game from the home version. It was a much more difficult game. The levels were slightly different. The colors were a little bit different as well. There's a bunch of things that were changed to make it more of a challenging arcade game. Well, company Retro USB, actually I don't even know if it's a company or not. They manufacture these cartridges, and it has the dip switches, and you can actually make the settings from the original arcade game. And it's the same hardware on those classic Versus Nintendo cabinets. But this one in particular, I've always wanted, and a friend of mine gave it to me for Christmas. It's really awesome, so I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's great to play the game again, especially if you play the original Nintendo version, the home version. You get really good at it, and then you try to play this, it really goofs you up because you don't expect a lot of the enemies to be where they're at, and gaps in the floor and things you just didn't flat out expect. So this was really awesome. I'm really happy to have it. Came with this cool clear case. For the most part, I don't care about these dust sleeves, but this one, being that it's clear, it's really awesome. I like it a lot. So there's that. I also received a couple things from eBay, but just never bothered to open it, so we'll go ahead and open it now. And this is taped fantastically well, as you might expect, so I'm going to struggle here for a minute to get it open. Alright, and it's a complete copy of Final Lap Twin for TurboGrafx. Looks like it's in great shape. Looks like the manual's probably never opened before. So I don't remember what I paid for this because it was about maybe 2 months ago, but it wasn't that much. But I'm happy with it. I had this game as a kid, loved it. Simple racing game, but there's also an RPG mode where you race RC cars. So instead of fighting enemies and things like that, you actually race them, and you earn money and power-ups and things like that. So that's cool. Next is a copy of Choplifter for the Famicom. If you're familiar with the Sega version in the arcade and the Sega version on the Master System, then this version would look strangely familiar because it looks almost identical to that version, but with a lot less colors. And it has the same theme song from the arcade version that was published by Sega. This one was actually released by Jaleco for the Famicom as Japan only. I don't know if it was ever released in Europe. Definitely wasn't released in the United States, but I saw this cheap online. I definitely wanted it, and now I have it, and this is in fantastic shape as well. Alright, and next up I have what I found at a thrift store recently, and it's this Famiclone. I've never seen a Famiclone like this, and when I saw it, it actually came with 5 cartridges, which I'll show those in just a moment. But this is unlike any other of the other Famiclones that I've seen, whether it's at a thrift store, at the swap meet, Chinatown, or anything else like that. I mean, this thing's built solid. A lot of them are really cheap plastic. Sometimes they're not even screwed, they're just connected with clips. But this is hard, thick plastic. It's screwed in there, 6 screws. It came with 2 controllers, a power supply, which is actually a foreign power supply. I don't know if this is Asia. I'm assuming it is because it's definitely not a North American type plug. When I first saw it, I wasn't sure if it was going to be Europe or Australian. If that was the case, then I wouldn't have been able to use the system. It would have been PAL format, excuse me, and not NTSC. But I tried a regular Nintendo power supply, actually a knockoff power supply, and it worked fine. And this one's called an Entertainment Home Computer Super Mission. And again, like I said, this thing's built tough. I mean, this almost feels as strong as a Sega Genesis case. I even opened it up to take a look inside, thinking it would be like a Nintendo on a chip, and it's definitely not a Nintendo on a chip. It has full ICs in it and things like that, name brand chips in there and stuff like that. So I was really surprised to see that. To see a Famiclone of this caliber. So I'm really impressed with this. I'm really excited for this. The picture is fantastic. It's phenomenal. Works great. Another drawback on some of those Famiclones are the controllers. This one, like I said, it came with 2 controllers. It's actually a 15 pin plug, which that I've never seen in a Famiclone. It's usually a 9-pin plug. And this controller is solid. I mean, this isn't crap. This is like manufactured very, very well. Again, several screws in it. It's pretty strong. Turbo buttons, of course, the A, B, select the start, and D-pad. D-pad spot on. The buttons feel great. It's really unbelievable. So let's go look at the games next. So first up was the 60,001, which, if you're familiar with these types of cartridges, it's usually only about 15, 20, maybe 25 games, and it just repeats over and over and over. Some of the different repeats will make the game start on a different level, or you start out with different power-ups, things like this. This one's really cool because it actually came with the Street Fighter port for Famicom. Of course, it wasn't an official thing on this version. It's called Master Fighter 3. It also has Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Super Contra, a handful of other games that are pretty common as well. So I was actually really excited about this because I've never been able to find that Street Fighter clone in the wild. So to find this, that was awesome. Next, there's this 10-in-1. This looks like a picture of a Bionic Commando. I don't know if you can see that very well or not. That game's actually not on this. It is 10 games, though. I don't recall off the top of my head of what they were, but I'll show them off here in just a moment. Next was this licensed Konami game. I don't remember, well, actually I don't even know what the name of the game is. It was definitely not a US release, but the music in it's pretty cool. You can run around, you kind of look like a caveman, you can drop these blocks that you step on, stuff like that. Just a typical platformer, but actually has some pretty good music. Next is this 12-in-1, which was really unique because it had games on it that I've never seen in a compilation. So, for example, it has the Comerica version of Robin Hood. It had Mickey Mouse Capades, Side Pocket, of course Super Mario Brothers. It had this generic Columns clone, which I've seen on other multi-carts. It also had Trog, which is kind of interesting because a lot of times you'll see on these pirate carts that the copyright and the manufacturer's names have been removed from the game, but in this it still says Acclaim, so that was kind of surprised as well. And then last but not least is this cartridge, which actually has Dragon Ball Fighter, which it looks like it's a barcode game. I couldn't get it to play. It would start up, of course, and have all the writing in Japanese or whatnot, but I couldn't figure out how to get it to start. And it looks like you actually need another accessory to make the game work. Like maybe it's a card game, you actually need the cards with the barcodes. So I couldn't figure that out at all. X-Men's a port of the Nintendo version. Prince of Persia, same thing. The DuckTales games is actually DuckTales 2. I was surprised to see that. Castlevania. This one actually has the title screen in it, and it's the American licensed one. So when it starts up, it says licensed by Nintendo America. And then this last game, it says here, Yu Fighter. I'm assuming it's from an anime. It's actually a fighting game. It looked pretty in-depth, but I had a difficult time figuring out the controls. But the graphics are pretty good, and it looks like it's a pretty hardy game. So this is called a 1996 6-in-1 cartridge. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's kind of lifting up here on the label. The thrift store that I found this in, they actually taped the whole thing together, and I wasn't paying attention. I accidentally lifted up on it. So it kind of ruined the label a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, it's not like, you know, it's the most important thing in the world to me. I only spent $20 for the whole lot, so I was pretty happy with it. I'm very excited for the games that are on it, and now I have another system that I can actually play the Choplifter on.